Mm. Welcome, welcome, beautiful soul, to this space. This is an astrology forecast for the month of December 2024. Can you believe it? We're here, the last month of this year. And invite you, just as we begin, to really just like snuggle into your seat and take a few breaths of reflection around what this year has held for you. What are some things about this year that you want to celebrate? What are some things that have happened this year that have been really hard or heavy? I would invite you to celebrate yourself, even around those things, in the way that you've navigated them, in the way that you've held yourself differently through the spiral of life, with whatever life brought in to you and for you this year. Wow, this was a big year, wasn't it? And the closing of this year with this month of December is it's truly it's pretty power packed as well in a lot of ways. And yet there's just so much really, really gorgeous closure sort of energy available this month. So I'm excited that you're here with me and to present some of what this looks like. My name is Erin Lindsay. I am an evolutionary astrologer and an oracle, a priestess, a wild woman. I am a student and a teacher of the Left Hand Path Feminine Mysteries. And it's just such an honor and a delight to be here in this space with you today, wherever this video finds you. So December opened with a new moon, which it happened right on December 1st, which I just think is so beautiful. This new moon was in the sign of Sagittarius. So Sag being the sign of adventure, truth, and freedom. And let's just emphasize like truth with a capital T. What is true for you? What is true for me? What gets us in the color of life, the play of life, where even though things may not be perfect, because they're never going to be perfect, there's that groundedness of the surrender to the adventure that life is, the earth school that we're here participating in. So this new moon opened the month. It was like a fresh beginning for this last month of the year here. I've been feeling a lot of really beautiful energy attached to this. And I'm going to give you a little bit of context of where the month opens and closes before I explain the transits happening in between time, at least the ones that called to me. We could be here for hours if we were going to touch every single one in all of the detail. But this month opens with the new moon, and what's unique is it also closes with the new moon on the 30th, right before the last day of the month. And then the other thing that is unique is the day after each of these new moons, so on December 2nd and then on December 31st, we have Mercury in the sky, who is our minds and rules the way that we think and communicate internally within ourselves and externally with the world outside of us. Mercury is going to be in a trine both of these days, the 2nd and the 31st, in a trine with Chiron, the wounded healer. Now, trines bring an energy of flow and ease. It's not a heavy or a harsh aspect. So, what this could look like or feel like with the mind flowing with the wounded healer is that the wounded healer Chiron in his energy innately is going to touch on each of us, our wounds around abandonment and rejection, with the emphasis on the sign of Aries, because that's where Chiron is. So these wounds around feeling abandoned or rejected for standing in our Aries, in our truth, in our power, in that warrior of self, the warrior for this I am space that I like to find and touch and guide souls to touch inside of them. It's the space inside of you that lives underneath all of your personality pieces or protections, parts of you that kind of even could be contradictory at times. This space is underneath all of that. It's like this flame That's a neutral observer sort of energy. It's your essence. Now, being in this like energy of a warrior for that space, it doesn't mean we're going out and destroying anybody or anything to find that. It's kind of like the warrior stance is this like protective, or this like, I'm on a sacred quest to touch the space, to discover this space inside of me. Now, on the 2nd of December, Mercury is trine Chiron, but both are going to be retrograde. And so what the vibe that's kind of like stirring towards the beginning of this month of December is, because both of these beings in our living sky are retrograde, this is going to draw us way more internally to the inside spaces, which also entails and is also inviting maybe a reframing or a reorienting around the way that we used to believe or think or communicate with these parts of us that do suffer from feeling this wound of abandonment and rejection. So there's going to be pieces of this that touch, like the first half of this month might feel a little bit tender with some of this energy. And I encourage you, especially because we've got this really beautiful Sag energy around us, kind of holding the space, which is where the sun is. It's also where Mercury is. Let this be a month of some deeper spirals of self-discovery around the way that your mind wants to repattern even what it means to feel into some of this wounding and what's available there, and some of the fertility of the soil around these pain points. Like they're gates in to, I mean, Chiron, his whole story is that his deepest wound ends up connecting him to his deepest medicine and magic. So there is so much available here on these themes for us to discover on this quest with the Sagittarius energy. And then what's unique is, as the month closes with the new moon, and then again, Mercury trine Chiron, both of them will be direct at that point. They will not be in retrograde phase anymore. So there's going to be this whoosh of energy, a forward motion, a feeling like maybe something clicks and it's like, ah, yes. Or you receive a wash of like a balm of closure and healing to a layer on this abandonment story that maybe you've been carrying for a while now. So really feel into, in the rest of this forecast video, feel into the fact that on either side of the beginning of the month and the end of the month, it's like framed and held in this container of the Mercury, of the Chiron, and then of the new moon and the newness of something that's coming in this cycle, in this month. So then I'm going to take a sip of tea. On December 4th, we have a Venus gate, which means that Venus and the moon are going to merge and open another gate in Venus's cycle, which correlates with us reclaiming, ascending from our heart chakra into our throat chakra, and reclaiming something about our voice and about the way that we communicate. So can you feel like this area is super connected to Mercury, because Mercury rules the way that we think, but then also the way that we communicate and the way that we use our voice internally with our inner self-talk, and externally with the way that we just express and communicate with other outside. So knowing that here still at the beginning, there's this reclamation energy with Venus and moon around our throats. Really encourage you to take some pause somewhere around that day and really feel into, for you, like, what are you reclaiming about your voice and the way that you speak your truth and you communicate that. That same day, the sun is going to be squaring Saturn. So sun in Sagittarius squaring Saturn in Pisces, Saturn being this initiatrix, and squares, I like to call them tension portals, because this day it may feel like that there's an opportunity that comes in for you to really actually like get a little bit clearer on your truth around your voice. And it may come through something that feels a little crunchy or a little tense with this sun square Saturn. And yet, what do we know about initiation is that it is always for us. These rites of passage that really stretch us, that expand us out of comfort zone in this initiatory energy. It's growing us, it's evolving us, it's for us. It's for our soul growth and evolution. So I would encourage you, if there's a way to just soften and let that happen, whatever that looks like on the 4th, do it. That same day, which is kind of fun, under the Venus gate, Venus will be merging with Moon, but also in a sextile with Neptune. And sextiles they're an aspect that bring opportunity. So can you feel, big day, reclamation of throat through some sort of maybe tension portal with Sun and Saturn that is for you in an initiatory way. And then there's also this energy of this opportunity that's coming in between the planet Venus of beauty and harmony and magnetism and Neptune, the planet of unconditional love and compassion. So you are so held through whatever is coming through that day around greater awareness and reclamation of voice and truth. And then on the 5th, here's some more Mercury energy. We're having a cazimi, which means that Sun and Mercury are merging in the sky in this sign of Sagittarius. And Mercury is still retrograde for this. So again, this really may not look like you're doing a bunch of outward communication or outward declaration of truth. This really may be like the sun bringing in this illumination to the inner spaces of you to see a different part of what you need in your communication, in your mental capacities. Are there belief systems that you have held on to for a really long time that, under the light of multiple of these Mercury moments this month, are getting these different opportunities to reframe and to begin again in a fresh new way? All with this undertone of like, this is an adventure. Don't take it so seriously, Sagittarius. Find the play. And I guarantee, like, this is something, I'm a Sag sun. So this is something I practice constantly because it's just innately within my being of my life force energy. It's my sun energy. But I love to, even in my painful moments, find pockets of reprieve to just like play and laugh and be silly or goof off. Not to just like be so spiritual or so put together or so on my healing journey. Like we're going to miss our lives if we're in that really put together space. It's just not the reality of the way things are. Life is play. It's created to be fun. It's not always fun. Can you feel the paradox here? So there's some sort of a gift incoming then around the 5th with this Sun and Mercury cazimi. And then on the 6th, Mars, who's in the sign of Leo, is going to go retrograde and will be retrograde until February 23rd. So I really want to emphasize this, especially as we go into the new year. Like, Mars is the planet that helps us take action, and it's our desire nature that kind of makes us come out. Now, if that planet is retrograde, it's kind of contradictory because it's in the sign of Leo that likes to shine and likes to be seen. But it's regrouping a little bit when it's retrograde. And what a gorgeous time of year for it to do this dance, because here in the northern hemisphere, we're literally like in approaching our winter, where it's time to like cave up and recharge and restore and take it slow and easy, and the sun sets earlier and it's cozy. But this Mars in Leo retrograde is going to give some hints and clues around areas that life is drawing you into to step into more of this being seen and shining in a way that's authentic. Leo rules our heart chakras that want to be of authentic, joyful service, not the pressure to be all to all the time and on and over giving. Our hearts are really wise. They actually do know when it's time to stop and when it's time to start. Just, are we listening? Are we listening to the body? So you may find that with this Mars retrograde on the 6th, like you draw in more to do some reflection on how you want to show up or be seen in 2025. The perfect time to do it. Then on the 7th, Venus is going to move from Capricorn into Aquarius, where she will merge with Pluto. So this may feel a little bit clunky, or it may feel really quite beautiful. I think it kind of depends on the being and also where this is activating you in your specific soul blueprint. I will say, I give readings. Visit my website if you're interested in knowing where any of this specifically is hitting you intimately. I would recommend booking an intuitive reading if you want to look at things like this in some detail. But Venus in Aquarius and then Venus merging with Pluto all on the same day. Aquarius is the sign of the renegade and the change agent and the wild one, who's not trying to just behave in the societal norms. Like, it's okay being taboo. It's okay being out of the box and creating some waves and being an outsider. Like, in its wisdom, it's really come to peace with a lot of that, and it owns it. And then it can shine from that space, and then it can actually attract and magnetize Venus, the soul tribe, the soul family, the community that you actually desire, that sees you, that knows you, that loves you, that appreciates you for who you actually are, not who you think you need to be. This is so Aquarius. So I have curiosity around the Venus merging with Pluto piece of this, because Pluto is that lord of the underworld. And in evolutionary astrology, just like really rules like where our souls are choosing to grow and evolve and be stretched out of our comfort zones. But with Venus here, she is a total balm of harmony and beauty. So I have this curiosity that this may actually look a little bit more like that Venusian energy comes in and we see some of this underworld energy or stuff that's trapped more in the unconscious or subconscious. Like, we get another piece in maybe to some of the either wounds or stories around belonging or being an outsider, or what does it feel like to actually step in and be the renegade for real. Or what does it feel like to resist that? And maybe life's like, come on, you can do this. You've got this. And it's like, oh my gosh, that is going to create a whole slew of this. And then the brain spins out. So can you feel there's a lot available. There's a lot accessible. And it can look a myriad of ways for all of us. But be a little gentle with yourself there around the 6th. Because the other thing that's happening that same day is Neptune, who's in Pisces, is going to station direct. And so, again, with the retrograde, there's been some dissolving or undoing around some of the wounds of Pisces. So, feeling like a victim, feeling like a martyr. being kind of stuck in this like, no, I give so much and I love so much, but nobody's doing the same for me. Nobody's seeing or loving me the way that I see and love them. Whew, there's a lot there. But with this Neptune direct, there's some forward motion again on this and an opportunity to what's actually dropping in and what I want to say is an opportunity to grow up a little bit, like reparent, hold yourself. You're not a victim. In fact, I would even say if some of those woundings around love, giving love, receiving love are really up for you, I would really get curious around a way, and keep it really simple, but a way that you could meet that need for you. What would that look like? What would you do? Like, really tangibly, what would you do to love on yourself in the way that you're craving, that you're kind of projecting on other to fill that need? How could you meet it for yourself? So then we'll have a few days swimming in that energy. And then on the 10th, the sun is going to trine Chiron retrograde. So you remember on the 2nd, Mercury did the trine with Chiron, and now that was the brain trining Chiron. So now this is the life force energy, the sun trining Chiron. I would encourage you, even if the sun isn't out, because I live in the Pacific Northwest, and sometimes this time of year, it's just pretty thick cloud cover. There have been some days here recently where the sun's peeking out for periods of time, which is just so lovely. But regardless, I would encourage you, get outside, face your body towards where the sun is, even if it's blocked by clouds, that's okay. It's still there, it's still shining. And really let yourself receive some of this literal light coded energy into your physical cells. The sun is unconditionally loving you all the time. In fact, it rises and sets. My friend said this to me the other day. She's like, it rises and sets not because it's actually setting, it's because we're on this rock that's spinning and it changes because we're moving and we're changing, but it's constant. It stays the same. And it doesn't matter how you're doing, if you're behaving, if you're not, if you're being a good person, if you're not, it doesn't care. It's going to still shine for you. It is unconditionally loving you, completely detached from what you do in your day to day life. It doesn't care. It's going to shine for you. So, for some of these wounded parts, these parts that feel like they've been abandoned or rejected, whew, let yourself feel that the sun has never abandoned you. The sun has never rejected you. The sun is there, pouring its unconditional love into you. It's up to you to go out and receive it. Really feel a strong gift from the sunshine that day. Again, regardless of if it's actually like you can see it and soak it in, or if it's through the clouds, doesn't matter. A couple days later on the 12th, we have Venus opposing Mars retrograde. Venus in Aquarius opposing Mars retrograde in Leo. So these are the lovers. Mars and Venus, exactly opposite from each other in the sky, with the emphasis of Mars retrograde. When I was tuning into this, this morning, I really felt this like prompt from life because that Mars energy, that desire energy is retrograde. So it's a little more internally doing some work that we may not in our mental capacity even understand, and we don't need to. Venus, in her magnetism and her beauty and her harmony, is the one that's really, I would invite you to lean into her versus the Mars energy for this. Is there a way that this divine feminine flow, magnetism energy wants to teach your masculine energy, Mars, your desire nature, and the way you take action? That, like, hey, there is actually something to being soft and receptive to receive what you desire without having to just constantly work, 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 and chase it. And there's a balance here, but cosmically, this month, I would really invite you to lean into some of the reciprocity, like the receiving energy, and less of the I have to make my life happen, or else if I don't do it, nothing's going to happen. And again, I really want to emphasize there's balance here, because I'm not saying like just sit and be lazy and wait, or also, if you know me at all, I just don't believe to my bones. My core mantra is you can't get it wrong. So even in your laziness, when you just feel like you're like laying down for days and rotting on the couch, like even there, I would still say to you, you can't get it wrong, which comes from a very, 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 very deep trust in life, and that life is holding me and life is holding us through every single experience. And this is when we get into some more of the feminine mystery sort of energy. But really let yourself, if you can muster softness, hard for our society to be soft. I also believe it is the medicine of these times to learn how to flow and be soft and move with the river of life instead of trying to force our way and our will and our agendas all the time. And then on the 15th, halfway through December here, we have the full moon in Gemini. So something will be dropping in this harvest sort of energy, or the fertility sort of energy that the full moon brings. And that same day, the 15th, Mercury will station direct. And you will feel this, I guarantee, because it's full moon, which is already like moon ruling our body and our emotional waters and tides. Like, that's already really like every month. The full moon brings waves of energy. If you track this, you will feel it. I guarantee. The Mercury piece is that mental piece and feeling like there's forward motion again, and it's less dissolvey or repatterning of belief. And it's like, okay, we're getting some wave of forward motion on some of what has been stewing since like mid-November when Mercury went retrograde. So that'll feel like a big day, I'm sure. And then on the 18th, we have the sun, the life force energy, squaring Neptune in Pisces. And I presenced a little bit of that Neptune in Pisces, martyr victim sort of wound energy that can show up there. I have been really aware, for me, that there have been a lot of questions around some really big life things that have just been sort of up over the last like couple of months, but really big since Mercury went retrograde. I felt them, so like mid-November. And when I was tuning into this energy of Sun square Neptune this morning, I was feeling this like, what if we really just sat with and settled into some of the questions we have instead of really aggressively on this quest for an answer? What if we played with literally just being with the question and letting the question be with us and letting the question itself kind of inform and move us? Again, if you want me to hold space around a process like that for you, I'd be honored. Book an intuitive reading and we'll totally do this. This is very fertile time with the closure of this year and with all of this Sag energy and all of this mental Mercury energy to really unravel some of this. A few days later, on the 21st, we have the winter solstice or Yule. I'm so excited. I love Capricorn season with the winter solstice. It means that the sun ingresses or moves into the sign of Capricorn. And I love the dance between Sagittarius season and Capricorn because Sag brings so much inspiration and Capricorn knows how to get the shit done. So let this month until the 21st be really feeding you in this truth, freedom, adventure dance of inspiration and coming home to some of what life is stirring inside of you as you approach 2025. And then use this Capricorn energy to really like set some, and when I say set some structure, like setting structure with balance, with flow. Like I love to play with like the phrase structured flow because the flow piece is really important, especially again, going back to that Mars retrograde. This isn't going to be the time to will a bunch of things into existence at the same time. Ride your aliveness. Like if something's rising from within you and it's like, okay, I'm going to devote myself to doing yoga for 20 minutes a day for a month, or taking my reset energy walks every day for a month, or I've been really drawn to this certain detox tea or this cleanse, and like it's like that innate knowing that you're like this is it, this is for me, yes yes yes, like ride that wave. I think where Capricorn can get in its wounded space is like setting a bunch of structures that get really rigid and then it's hard to follow through because there's too many things. So find your structure flow space and then just do it. Go with it. Be with it. Follow through with it. It's such a self-love practice to actually like say I'm going to do this and then follow through with it for you, not for anybody else. And then on Christmas Eve, on the 24th, we have Jupiter retrograde squaring Saturn. These are both the teacher planets. So with this square, again, squares being these tension portals, it's not like going past my awareness that this would be a time where we're doing a lot of like gatherings with friends or family for the holiday. Whew, this one could get crunchy. So really, like both of these signs, Jupiter in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces, these are mutable signs, so they're adaptable. And I would invite you into color, into play and silliness, and into adaptability. I would really recommend that you go into any gathering with zero agenda to make anybody at that dinner table see you, know you, or understand you. Can you hold yourself? Can you see you? Can you know you? Can you notice, oh, this part of me is just like up right now at the dinner table because I really wish they would ask about this or they would see me for this thing I'm so proud I'm doing. Can you notice that part? And then you inside of you welcome that part and hold it and say, I see you though. And I celebrate you and what you're doing, what you're creating, who you are, who you're being. It's fantastic. Friends, it's insane how we are what we are looking for or longing for. And all of the love, that void you feel inside that just like wants to be validated by something or someone outside of you, that is a never-ending void. It's a black hole. But it can be filled with your own loving awareness. And I don't just take my word for it. That's what I'll say. Try it, test it, see if it's true for you. But I have been on this journey now very intentionally for many years. And each year around the spiral is a deepening into knowing that this is true. And then what's fun about it is the more you don't need anybody outside of you to see you, honor you, acknowledge you, validate you. It's kind of ironic, but the more you source that from inside, the more it actually does show up outside of you. Because mirror, baby, mirror. Then on the 27th, so a few days later, we're going to have Mercury squaring Saturn. So there's this Jupiter squaring Saturn, and then there's this Mercury squaring Saturn. And again, there is something really specific with all these Saturn squares this month that you are being invited into. And it's initiatory. Like Saturn is really kind of like poking you, the bear, and getting this, making me giggle. It's really getting at this space of something that's going to want to come through and into more fullness in 2025 to have it kind of aggravated this much before we cross the threshold into a new year. So again, be really gentle and patient with yourself. When we're in initiations, it doesn't usually make any lick of sense right in the middle of it. So please don't even try to make sense of it this month. But I encourage you, like keeping a journal or notes in your phone, or just like watching the different things that come up, especially around the theme of like, I want you outside of me to love me, to fill this void in me. How can I do that for myself? What is it showing me about something inside? And then what do I want to create for myself in that space? What do I want to let go of in an old story or a belief around this? This is seriously like big reparenting energy. This isn't like little girl victim energy anymore. You take care of you. And if you don't know how, figure it out. It's important. And when I say figure it out, I say it with a smile, because especially with the Sag energy into the Capricorn energy, it's like the adventurer that makes a discovery during Sag season and then figures out how to anchor in a structured flow with the Capricorn season. On the 29th of December, Chiron goes direct. And this is the wounded healer going from feeling these wounds inside in retrograde phase and seeing them a little bit differently, kind of like reorienting to some of these pain points. And then when Chiron goes direct, it's moving forward again in the sky, not backward. So there is going to be that wash of just like, it's time to take a baby step forward and not just sit in the swirly stew that the retrograde is asking. And now what's interesting is that's the 29th. The 30th is a new moon in Capricorn. So we're going to seed something again. We started the month in this energy. We're going to end the month in this energy right before the new year. And then that 31st, Mercury direct, and Chiron direct will go in trine again. And you're going to get another touch that you got on the 2nd of December on the last day of December, but with the forward motion energy. And that's what you're carrying into this 2025. There's a realness, there's a bit of a rawness to it. There's a vulnerability to it. But 2025 is going to be a really big year. Almost all of the outer planets are changing signs. So this signals really big shifting, really big changing. We've already been in that for a couple of years where it's been like pretty mega massive shifting, and we're still in it, guys. Like, that's not changing. These years here on earth, these are some that, like, if you do any sort of feeling into cycles or researching cycles, like, we've known this was coming, but these are really, really big shifting, paradigm shifting years in here for our collective and for humanity. Will we flow with it? Will we resist it? December is going to give us a lot of keys into what we'll be working with then in 2025 and beyond. I'm offering your ahead readings right now if you want to dive deep into where some of these shiftings are happening inside of your actual soul blueprint and what's coming. So if you've felt stirrings that this is going to be a big year and you would like to just have sacred space held around you in that, I would be so honored to hold and presence and be with you in that space. But this is December, so I encourage you, stay soft, stay playful, stay curious when you can, cry when you need to, belly laugh when you need to, scream into your pillow when you need to. We are alive. We are alive. And with every single breath and every single experience, we're receiving the gift of these incarnations to just be here. So thank you for sharing this space with me. I wish you a very, very beautiful Yule season and holiday season. May it hold the glow of truth, of realness, of freedom as you just continue to soften and come home to who you truly are. Deep breath in together as we close. Sending love from the Pacific Northwest to you today. Take care, and I'll see you next month.